All right, welcome to the third hour of the Elias Makos Show. We are with you until noon. Now, we're going to begin this third hour of the show by talking about a very peculiar thing happening in the by-election in LaSalle-Émard-Verdun. Now, you don't have to live in this riding for our next subject matter to be important to you. So here's the deal. This by-election. Do you know how many candidates are running in this by-election? This is the important thing here. They are now up to, I have the update, they're up to 67 candidates in one by-election. And over 50 of those 67 candidates will either be independent or no party affiliation candidates. It's all part of a movement, the longest ballot committee, that is pushing for dozens of people to run in by-elections to make their case for electoral reform. And we have talked for a very long time in this country about reforming the way that we go and vote. In fact, if you recall, in 2015, Justin Trudeau, current prime minister, he campaigned on the fact that the 2015 election would be the last one in this country with first past the post, right? Of course, that didn't happen. We still have the same electoral issue. Let's speak to one of the people on the ballot in LaSalle-Émard-Verdun about this protest and the protest votes in general. Donovan Eckstrom on the line. He describes himself on Facebook as the candidate for an Independent Alberta with LaSalle-Émard-Verdun. Donovan, welcome to the program.
Elias, it's a pleasure to chat with you.
Okay, so Donovan, tell our listeners about yourself. You're not a resident of LaSalle-Émard-Verdun, are you?
No, I'm from beautiful Grand Prairie, Alberta, and Grand is spelt with an E, so there's some tangentially related thing that might be considered French. But yes, I'm from beautiful northern Alberta, the land of Alberta beef, the land of oil and free market opportunity. And I am throwing my name into the proverbial hat to try to bring that Albertan spirit to the good folks of LaSalle-Émard-Verdun.
Now, have you ever been to LaSalle-Émard-Verdun? How much do you know about the riding?
So there's a chance I've been. I have been to Montreal before. I hung out there with some Rhino Party folks. But I don't know if I've been to the exact riding. But then again, the main parties also have people that, parachute candidates as well that have never lived in a riding or been to a riding. So I feel that that's a fairly comparable thing that I'm doing.
Point taken. We'll never forget Ruth Ellen Brosseau winning for the NDP when she was out in Vegas during the election campaign. So that definitely can happen. So Donovan, obviously you don't expect to win on election night in the by-election. There's something more important about you putting yourself on the ballot. Tell our listeners why you're on the ballot.
Well, so I guess, first off is that out west, we have a bunch of consternation with the folks out east. So I said, that is still one of the main reasons. The other one, of course, is the concept of electoral reform. Personally, for me, I am a pretty big fan of first past the post, primarily because you get a clear-cut thing. But, when you get elected on a promise of electoral reform, you should probably be pushing towards it with good faith. And there is a highlight of kind of the absurdity of first past the post when you have a lot of candidates. The fact is that we're getting to the point where somebody could represent the riding with only 2% of the vote, while 98% of people might vote for someone else. And so there's a little bit of an absurdity attached to that. I said, I am a pretty big fan of first past the post, but I feel like there hasn't really been a good faith attempt at seeing if there's other electoral systems that could be better. And there could be one. There could be one that could blow my mind, Elias. My mind could be blown with a better electoral system, but I feel like we haven't done the research for it. And so that is one of the big reasons. And it's getting a discussion. You're talking with me, a man from Alberta. I don't think you would have done it otherwise if there was just one candidate running for electoral reform. So it is getting a discussion going, which I also think is a pretty good thing.
We're speaking with high energy Donovan Eckstrom live from Alberta. He is on the ballot in LaSalle-Émard-Verdun in the September 16th by-election. But as we've been discussing, there's a further point to him running, and that electoral reform reform protests. Now, Donovan, it's so interesting what you say about first past the post, because I too am a big fan of our, I like that it leads to, or lends itself to, moderates or people that can have broad amounts of voters, right? And some of the stuff we see in proportional representation, I don't think I'm a fan of here. So, but to you, it's the fact that like in 2015, there was that promise, and basically it was like almost a phony promise. They never had an intention of keeping their word at looking at this.
Yeah, that kind of drives me a little bit off the wall. As I said, there could be a system that's better, but like you read the committee that did it, and it seemed like everybody was ho-hum. It didn't feel like it felt like it was doomed from the start. When you're not really trying to do it. And as I said, there could be a system that blows my mind, and it might be the best thing ever, but until there's a good faith, honest attempt, it's a conflict of interest. You're the majority government. You can make something happen in 2015, and yet it was sort of, like we got in on that, on a promise of 2015 will be the last first past the post. And who knows, first past the post might be the best system, but until we actually have a genuine, good-hearted discussion on it, it's a stupid thing. And it also highlights the stupidity of anybody making a promise. You can just say whatever. You could be like, just sit down and say, well, let's get rid of income tax. And then be like, okay. And then you get in and say, well, actually, I don't know.
Free puppies. Free puppies for everyone. Who wouldn't vote for that? Then you don't give them the puppy. Donovan, I just want your reaction to a message from a listener, right? We have a text line. People send us notes. And a listener writes, this guy has too much time on his hands. I should point out you also ran in the last by-election, Toronto-St. Paul. So tell me about why. You got a lot of things you could probably be doing. Why is this important to you?
Well, it's important to me because, as I mentioned, out west, we have a lot of consternation and frustration with those out east. I drive into Grand Prairie and we have people still protesting, like, no joke, people still protesting transfer payments. And instead of just sitting on my keister on the side of the road with a sign, I'm being proactive and putting that pro-Alberta spirit forward for those in beautiful Montreal to decide that. So, like, there's still a meaning, right? There's a combination, of course, right? We still have the electoral reform, but there's also the true blue Alberta spirit that might be the boost Montreal needs, and it might blow everyone's mind as well. This is a beautiful opportunity for the folks of Montreal. They have the most choice in LaSalle-Émard-Verdun. They have the most choice, and I think that's that's what democracy is all about, Elias. That's what democracy is all about, the choice. It's wonderful, and I think we should be celebrating it.
That message in the last by-election, Toronto-St. Paul, how many votes did it get you?
3, I think. But you don't know. I have a better chance of winning than 99.99999% of people. I have a non-0% chance, and I think that is also a beautiful thing.
It is. Donovan, listen, I appreciate the enthusiasm. I look at this stuff, and I think it's actually really valuable to our democracy, these types of interactions, and whether you call it a protest or whatever you call it, I think it's pretty valuable. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Elias. Take care.
That's Donovan Eckstrom, and he will be on the ballot, along with, now we're up to 66 other people. So 67 people total on the ballot in LaSalle-Émard-Verdun.